hop right into the news here. Out of Oklahoma, comes from Oklahoma's News 4. This was published on January 20th by Jessica Bruno. Marijuana grow owner shoots suspect during attempted burglary. We don't like violence. But when your property and your family and your well-being are at stake, self-defense is something that we all, as Americans, have the right to utilize, which is why we have the right to bear arms, and our forefathers put that in. So this happened in Oklahoma City. Says a medical marijuana grow owner said he shot at 2 burglars, hitting one of them when they returned to his business for a second time. So these guys tried to break in twice. I'm going to go down a little bit in the article. The owner said that they came in through the back door. They used a hammer and they broke a lockbox. Apparently, this owner had a lockbox on the back of his dispensary, or front, who knows, because he had ongoing construction going on and the builders needed to get in and out. Well, these thieves, these petty thieves, these are actual criminals, not cannabis smokers. The quote says, they drive around the building a couple of times after breaking into the lockbox. They drive around the building a couple of times, make sure there's nobody there. They use the key to get in the back door. It's not even like 2 minutes. You can tell that they're professionals. So that's a quote directly from the owner, who wished to remain nameless. And I can't say that I blame him, considering the severity, or the possible severity, of what he might face after this act of defending himself. He says in those few minutes that the 2 thieves snatched about $1,500 worth of tools and then made a run for it. He was reluctant, obviously, having no protection, and knowing that the perpetrators still had their hands on the key. He didn't have time to change locks. I'm sure there's some sort of regulation in place in Oklahoma that says you can't change the locks to your facility or something crazy without communicating with the Cannabis Commission first, which, of course, nothing you do with the government ever takes less than 30 to 90 days. Let's be realistic. In a lot of states, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Cannabis Commissions must have 24-hour access to everybody's security camera. So there's a zero privacy in this industry. And it seems that there's zero protection too. So it's a bit bewildering. So considering that this owner knew that these 2 perpetrators still had the key in their possession and could come back and enter at any time, he decided to camp out at night with his trusty firearm. He hung out in his store, and it says here, one suspect, well, that they tried to break back in, at which point he opened fire. One suspect was hit by the bullets, and the 2 allegedly took off. So we've got 3 people, 1 hit by a bullet. Police say not too long after that, someone showed up to a hospital in Del City with a gunshot wound in the back and a bullet lodged in their arm. Police believe that that person is one of the suspects. However, no one is in custody at this time. Now, this coming just a few days after the big gun rally in Virginia. I don't want to cross civil rights issues here, but it's clearly a hot topic. It's one that hits the cannabis community, again, very hard, because everybody in the industry and patients alike are asked to choose one freedom over the other. I applaud this man for protecting his property. I'm not a proponent of shooting somebody in the back, but I was not there. I don't know what's happening. I don't know whether he reached out to authorities and was offered no help. There's very little information in this story, and I will be following it to see if anything else unfolds. But what my fear is here is this man, who is operating in the cannabis space and taking a huge pay cut from any other industry in America, simply to provide a service of natural healing for his community, was faced with the situation where he was being threatened. He chose to defend himself with a firearm. Didn't take anybody's life, thankfully. We don't like loss of life, no matter what. I don't want to speak for you guys, but it's just me. But now I wonder what's going to happen. And this is probably why he's remaining nameless. And who knows if he even reported the robbery to authorities. Because he could be charged with a federal crime for having a firearm inside of that dispensary. Which, if you work at a bank or a liquor store, a store that sells a substance more dangerous than cannabis, or hell, even a library. Actually, I think libraries are excluded because they're federal property. But you can have a firearm. You have the right to protect your property. In the cannabis space, this is not a thing. So even though we are seeing emerging laws and decriminalization and legalities, we're not there yet. And let's be real, America, we're not children. We don't need all this strict regulation. We know how to work in this capitalistic society that we live in. And it's just a shame. It's a shame that I'm even worried enough to have to report this story. It should be just like a, hey, great job defending your business, buddy, and no one should bat an eye, and we should move on. The police should investigate it, charge the thieves with a crime. But in this case, the man that was defending himself may very well end up with a charge that could see him in jail for 20 years to life. And that's the reality that we all face. Hate to start off episode number 3. I like the number 3.